Today is June the 21st, 2024. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. I am in Oklahoma City today to speak with Bonita Edwards, and we are in the Oklahoma Black Museum and Performing Arts Center here in the city. So thank you for coming today. I understand that you grew up in the Edwards edition, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But before that, let's learn a little bit about you. Tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Okay, I'm Bonita Forrest Edwards. Forrest was my middle name. My maiden name. And I came to Oklahoma City in '42 and lived in Edwards Edition. Went to had a home built there when I was in '45. When I was 5 years old, we built a home. Went to the school, and I will tell you about all of Edwards Edition that I remember later. I went to Douglas High School, went to F.D. Moon, and then went to Douglas High School, finished in '58. I was in a lot of activities, and I was football queen my senior year. And then I went to Langston University beginning September of '58, and stayed until November of '60, which I got married. And I started out in business and changed over to art. I preferred art, and I was told that I would never get a job in art because of my race. But I ended up back. After I left there, I went to American Business College, and then I got on at local federal bank here in the city, and first black in banking, and stayed there for 37 and a half years.
That's impressive.
Was branch manager, made officer in '77, and I was branch manager of 2 different branches here in the city. Like I said, stayed to 37 and a half years, retired in 2003. I have had 3 children, which both of the girls died, and I have a son living, Cartelia Gail Edwards, which lives here in the city, and his family. One grandchild, Cartelia, the second, and I'm an active in the neighborhood. I'm vice president of my Park Estates North Cash and Wildwood Edition, which is down the street. Belong to Marshall Memorial Baptist Church. Have been there 47 years. I'm Douglas alumni and belong to the Alumni Association. Also, my class of '58 still meet, and we did travel together, but we still have our meetings. And that's it as far as me.
How many are left from class of '58?
Oh, I don't know. We had 340 something starting out. I think we have over 100 still there.
Okay, that's good.
And we had our 65th reunion in December of last year. We only had 35 to show up, however. But we had it at, we just met at Golden Corral and had 2 big rooms and ate, and they didn't want to come there. They didn't want to spend the money flying, Well, I can understand that. Those that were out of town. So, but we still get together.
That's neat, I think, yeah. So we're going to go back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were 5 years old, do you know why your parents chose that particular neighborhood?
When we came here, my aunt was here, my daddy's baby sister, and she lived on 13th. And it wasn't, I don't know if they called it, he didn't own the addition then. It was Mr. Edwards. And those houses were already there. They were older houses. She lived there. And so since we didn't have a place to live, we stayed with her until our house was built. So.
And where had you come from?
Tyler, Texas.
Okay.
Was where I was born.
Was your dad in the World War II?
My daddy went to service, after we were here and had our house and I was in school, then my daddy was drafted. And
okay.
And he spent 2 years in the Navy. and then he got out, and we were already in our house and all, and I was still already in school.
Okay, and at that point, it was called Edwards Addition?
Yeah,
Then.
then.
Okay. I had read that some of those homes were built with the GI after servicemen came back. They had
I think that's what
access to loans where they can do homes. So it's part of that. So kind of give us the location of this particular neighborhood.
Okay.
Streetwise.
It's from Northeast 10th, and right now it's I-35 in Northeast 10th. It wasn't before. It wasn't. I'm gonna tell you about I-35 because it wasn't I-35.
Okay.
When I was growing up.
Okay.
It was from 10th Street all the way up to, at that point where I'm going to tell you about, was the 16th and Grand Boulevard.
Okay.
Okay. Then later on, it expanded to Success Street.
Okay.
On the west side of I-35. And then he eventually bought the east side of I-35. And so houses started from 16th on up from there to Success.
Do you know much about him?
I know, yeah, probably. My first husband was Cartelia Edwards, which was the family of the Edwardses.
I wondered.
His father, my husband's father, and Mr. Edwards were cousins.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. His name was Leroy Edwards. And so I knew about them, but I knew about him, but I didn't know about my husband and all at that time.
Yeah.
When we moved over there, I knew Mr. Edwards, I knew Mrs. Edwards too, Frances. And because we were little kids, but we were small in the area, everybody knew everybody.
Okay.
And his daughters, one of the oldest girl, well, I can't say girl, but daughter, because they were older than my parents. They used to have church in homes, and so we were around them. Deborah was the oldest, and we started having church at her house, meeting. A few of them, my sister and my mother, were the first, I can't even think of the name of it, the first people that made the Tabitha Baptist Church. And I can't think of the name right now in my mind. But so we were the first children to be involved in the church. And she's still a member, my sister's still a member. My parents are dead. And after meeting, then we went to, I knew the Everses because of Deborah. And then Maxine was the baby girl. I knew the others, but not as well as I did Deborah and Maxine. Maxine was James Johnson. You've heard of James Johnson? Mm-hmm. His mother. Okay. And she just passed a year or two ago now. But she was a young girl, and she was his secretary when he was building the houses. Oh. And I was looking at my mother's and father's papers the other day and saw where she signed, and they made payments every month, and she would give them a receipt, She was Maxine Edwards then. She was now, when she died, she was Maxine Johnson. So I knew them, and I knew the grandchildren, and went to church with the other sisters and so forth. They lived here, so everybody just kind of knew everybody, And so that's how I knew him, and I knew her, Francis, his wife's son. He was John Waldrop, and they lived around the corner from where we lived. I lived on 12th Street, it would be 12th and Grand, but the church is on the corner, which still exists, Tabitha Baptist Church. Okay. So we lived next door, and they lived on 11th Street, her son and his family. We all went to school together. Everybody went to Eagle School. And I was going to talk about the school. But let me know if you want me to go into that.
Oh, you're
Okay, wait.
you're on a roll. Keep
Okay.
going. You're doing good.
The neighborhood we didn't have. We had a grocery store, and Dale Weber, which was a Jewish gentleman, owned it, and it was in a strip mall right there on 11th and Grand Boulevard. So they were facing Grand Boulevard, and my house was kind of like right behind it on 12th. And so we had cleaners there, Goins Cleaners. We had an ice cream parlor, which was owned by Ernestine and William King. We had a upholstery shop called A&B Upholstery, and they had a little place that you could go and drink, and the grown folks, and socialize, and it was called Cherry Blossom. And then later, when the Lutheran church started, they had a little area on on the side of the strip, and we would go to Vacation Bible School there, and well, at my church too, at Tabitha, but there, and for the summer, because all the kids they were outside and they had stuff going. We would go to Bible school there in the summer, and then they later, Mr. Edwards built a church for them, the Lutheran church, further later up on 16th, when he did the hospital. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But the school, we didn't have a nursery, and we didn't have a kindergarten at Edwards School. It was called Edwards School. It was a 2-room brick building on Grand Boulevard, on 10th and Grand, but it was right in the middle of the plot there. And it was just 2 rooms, and the first, second, and third went in one room, and the fourth, fifth, and sixth went in the other room. Now, I don't know if they had a school before then, but I just remember my cousins going there, and we would go down with them, and sometimes I would go to school with her, and I don't know, she was probably 7 or 8 years older than me, but I didn't have a place to go, and my mother worked, and my daddy was at that time in the service. And so I would go to mother worked it out that I would go to the grocery store. And in the summer, my sister and I both would go to the grocery store, but I would go to the grocery store every day and stay. And Dale kept me, and kept us every day until my mother got off of work. And so we enjoyed that because we got to eat the cookies, but he was still kind of strict. You could only have so many of this, and so, you can't have that. I didn't ask your mother if you could have that. He would fix us bologna sandwiches and so forth because they had the old-fashioned meat counters there, yeah, and everything. And so I remember that, and it was always good memories. I had a chance to run into him when I was a teller at the bank, and he walked in, and I recognized him. My memory's pretty good. I recognized him because he was much, much older than my parents. This was Dale Sr. And I said, Dale. He turned around and he looked, Bonita. I said, yes. And he came to the thing, and and the other tellers would say, well, who is he? How do you know him? So he used to keep me when I was little, And so that was a joy too, that he remembered me, And so that's what, we didn't have any of that. And there was additional nurseries, anything like that. Later, I had to go to, when I got to the 4th and 5th grade, I went to what we call the fairgrounds, but it was where the fair was. Back then, the fair was where Douglas is now. Douglas High School is now.
Okay.
And the Jimmy Stewart Golf building, where it is now, near Willis place, Willa Johnson's place, the building is still standing. It's a 2-story red brick. We went to school over there until they built portions of our school. It was good. And after they finished, we went back to Edwards. And then, we had full course, and we got to have 6 teachers, instead of the 2 teachers that we had. We had the principal and another teacher at first, teaching those classes. And so we had a very big parking lot, a playground. We had a good time in Edwards Edition. Everybody knew everybody. And then later, he moved up, Mr. Edwards moved up to building 16th on up through Success. And Success was the block south of 23rd. And he had a 19th. He didn't have a 20th up in there, but he had 19th and then Success. And on the west side of I-35. The east side hadn't been built yet. And finally he went over and got, they started in 57, I think it was 57, because in 58, I remember they were doing I-35. And they had started digging it up, and they hadn't paved it. It was just dug. Because all in there was just red clay dirt, And they had dug up and started doing it. And they stopped at 16th. And I guess they had to do the bridge, and then they were just doing sections. Well, my senior year, which was in 58, the night of the prom, we all got in the car and we went and got on the road and turned our radios up and just danced. Instead of going somewhere, we went there. So I remember what year that was. And then later they built the church, the Lutheran church.
Okay.
And the building's still standing, but they have dissolved and gone into another Lutheran church in Midwest City. I think they went together or something. And the hospital was built. And that was a big thing because we didn't have a hospital we as black people didn't have a hospital to go to. And Mr. Edwards, he tells a story, and I've got the prints and the paper and all, where his wife got sick and he didn't want her to go. She was real sick and they wouldn't take care of her. And he didn't like the idea of her being put in the basement. And I don't know whether she had cancer, but she had something very serious. And so he had to take her out of town to get treatment. And so when he got back, he said, this will never happen again. So he built a hospital so that she could, we could have a place to go. And I think it was 3 stories. My cousin was born there. And
what was it called? Do you remember?
It was Redeemer Hospital. Mm-hmm. And then they, it went on until, I don't know when it went out of business, but we had doctors and nurses and people could go there. And then he went on and built the rest of 16th on the west side of the interstate, all the way up to Success that way, over to, I'm trying to think of the name of the street, Midways. There's quite a few houses, but then I think another guy, and I can't think of his name right now, he built the rest of the houses over to Bryant,
Okay.
another builder. But Mr. Edwards had all of that. And then I think about that time, a little after that, he died. But that was...
Was he an actual builder, or did he have another profession?
It started out, he was a builder. He started out as an iron man. He'd pick up scrap iron. He made the money by picking up scrap irons.
Okay.
Anything that was iron, And then he had another business. I can't recall what it was before he did this and started building. And he had his own builders and used the people that were in the neighborhood. A lot of them bought houses there.
Okay.
And they were all built by his friends and his son. And all the concrete people, everybody that he hired were black.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So.
And can you describe your house?
In fact, my nephew lives in it.
Oh, so it's still standing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And It's mine was a 2-bedroom home, living room and a kitchen. It was sitting on possibly 2 lots, um, because it was real big. And my daddy was starting out before we came here. He was worked at the nursery, flowers and bushes. And he loved that, and so the yard was always well kept, very well kept. And he had gardens, and we had everything in the garden. I used to remember as a kid go out and just sit in the yard, in the backyard, because he had fruit trees and everything, and just sit out there and just pull stuff out the garden and eat it. And
Doesn't get better than that.
yeah, and then on my street was nothing but boys. I have a girlfriend that lived on the corner, and my sister was there, but she wasn't gonna come out and play anything. And I shot marbles with them and spin tops, and the boys rode stick horses, everything that they did. I was right there with them, and got to the point I started cooking. The little electric stove ovens and things came out. I don't know whether you even remember that.
Kind of like an easy bake oven type thing.
Yeah. With a little light bulb to cook the food, I thought. But anyway, I'd go and get greens and wash them and everything and put them in a little pot and call myself cooking them. And I would make my little friends, the little guys that lived, they were all younger than me, but I'd make them eat that. I was cooking them dinner. But, and one is still living, bless his heart. I've been trying to contact him. But it was just fun, just fun.
Was there a neighborhood park?
Edwards Park.
Edwards Park.
Uh-huh. And
what was in it?
They had swings and seesaws. That was all at the time. People would go and fish there.
Okay.
He did clean it up that you could fish. And it had a big rock house, and I don't think he did that. I don't know where that came about. But it was a big house set up on a hill that you could go up there and look over the park and all. It was real unique. And it was that red rock that you would see off somewhere, wasn't something somebody made, I don't think. And it had a couple of restrooms in it. But we'd go over there and we'd get on the seesaws and the swings. That was all that was there. But we just all gathered there a lot. Back up, because the park that's there now wasn't formed.
I wondered, yeah.
Yeah, no. And that was in my lifetime as a kid. They did build that. It's not like it is now. But they had a swimming pool back then, and a little house that you could go in, and activities in and all. And we used to have socials there when we were in high school in the summer around the pool. They had people come from this, to be over the park in the summer. They had that. And I don't know what happened to that, because they don't have that building now. They just have the pavilions now in the restrooms and stuff. But that was a place.
Is the pool still there?
No. They closed it up. And but before they put the houses on the east side of I-35, all of that was just land from the hospital on, before they put houses and things up there. And they called it Snake Island because it was just water and snakes. And so some kind of way because people used to go up there and swim, and we had a couple of kids drowned in it, trying to swim and everything. But they filled it all in, I suppose, because they've got houses all in there now, But they used to call it Snake Island. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
So if everybody knew everybody and all the kids knew each other, if you did something you weren't supposed to do,
Oh, yeah.
how did that work?
Well, my girlfriend lived on the corner, and her mother, they faced the I-35. They lived on Grand Boulevard. And my parents worked, my mother had started working at Johnny Brown's, and my daddy was at Bus Harton Auto Company. And so when we had holidays back then, and teachers' meetings, we were out of school. And my parents always told me to, and my sister, just she's older than I am, to stay at home. Don't go anywhere. Stay in the house. Well, I was stubborn, and we'd get up and go over to Carverdale, which was a neighborhood east of us.
Okay.
We go over there because we had friends over there, and we'd go over there. And one friend had the garage. They had like a little store, candy store, and all, and they had a jukebox in there. We all go over there and turn up the jukebox and just dance, And my girlfriend didn't get to go because her mother was at home. I guess she didn't work, and she told my mother that we had gone, and it was just a mess. I know she was call herself doing good and all, but I got punished for going all the time because I would just get up and go. So the parents, they were, looked out for each other. The kids, they looked after the kids and everything. And my next door neighbor, they were always going. They had one son, and they were always going to out of town to different parts of Oklahoma City because her grandfather was Bill Pickett, the cowboy, and they were always going to rodeos. So I would always go with them. My sister and I, we'd always go with them to the rodeos and go down to Sulphur, Oklahoma. I don't know why, but we went down there. We'd ride horses down there and all. So, everybody just kind of took over everybody's kids, and you could go. You felt safe letting them go, with them. So we did that. Everybody went to that one church, and everybody knew each other. So.
So in the neighborhood, were there clothing stores and
No.
So where would you have to go for that, or did your mom sew?
My mother sewed, but my mother made my clothes until I was probably 30.
30?
Uh-huh.
30?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You were lucky then.
Well, I went to, and my aunt, and they were both good seamstress. Even when I was in college, they make my gowns, and when I was up for Queen or something like that, they make my formal outfits. And even when I went to the bank and was working as a teller, my mother made my clothes. So, but she started working at Johnny Brown's, but I was grown then. And she, I bought my kids' clothes. And from there and everything, she stopped sewing. But
did she teach you how?
No, I took it up in school, but I didn't do good at all. My sister did. My sister made her clothes. But, and at that time, my girlfriends and I, they all could sew. We would get a pattern. If I saw a pattern I liked, my mother would get it. She'd tell them. They would make the same thing. My girlfriends, we'd all have the same thing but different colors in the little outfits, And back then we had the football games at Washington Park, which there still stands. That's 4th and High, Northeast 4th and High. They had Juneteenth stuff there this weekend. Okay. And next to it was a big stadium where all of the schools would play ball there for tournaments. And then we had May Day, which was we wrapped the maypoles. All the schools in the city would meet there to wrap the maypole. So that was kind of a meeting place for activities. And we would make clothes. That was a big thing to us to go to the tournaments and all. And the finals, like they call finals now in football, but we called them tournaments. And we would dress alike and go. And we had, at Douglas, we had all of the basketball tournaments there from all the little towns in Oklahoma City, black schools meeting together. And they turned school out for that to go. So, had a good childhood.
Well, would you visit other neighborhoods like you mentioned Carbondale, but what about Sandtown?
I went to, I didn't know, I went to school with kids from Sandtown and Westtown and different things. But as a kid, my mother and father were friends of Oscar Jenkins, you know, the father and mother, they play cards and things together. And so we would go to their house on Sundays and go to a park called Toland Park that was out in, I don't know, West Town. We go out there on Sundays because my dad played baseball also. And we would go and watch him play baseball. And I've got pictures of us in our little white Sunday dresses, and my mother's in her suits and her platform high heel shoes and all. Instead of going home after church, we would go on. My daddy would take his clothes and we would go on out there. And on Sundays, we did that for a long time. And like I said, Carbondale, there was a track that divided Edwards Edition and Carbondale, train track. And Douglas was on 6th and High at the time. And we would go to school with my dad. He'd take us on the way to work, 6:30. He'd take us to school and drop us off. Sometimes we were the only one in the building. Because otherwise we'd have to walk or catch a bus. And so he would drop us off. But in the evenings, we'd walk home because we had kids to walk home with. And so we would walk from 6th and High, but we'd get on the railroad track and walk all the way to Edwards Edition and then get off and go home.
How long would that take you?
I don't know, probably 30, 45 minutes.
Wow.
I didn't pay any attention because we were so busy. There were so many of us, we would just be talking and laughing and, you know.
You weren't on a mission, you were just moving along. So in high school, did you have a favorite class or teacher?
I guess, I'm trying to think. Because I took a lot of stuff in high school.
Anyone that left a lasting impression on you, teacher-wise?
I would say in high school, she was my homeroom teacher, but she was also my home economics teacher, Zara Love. And that's probably good, because I had a lot of them. I had Spanish, I had everything you could think of in school. Now in grade school, Virgie Johnson, my second grade teacher, she was my favorite, and I remember her teaching me a prayer, or teaching the class a prayer. And to this day, I still say that prayer.
Which is, you can tell us.
I was trying to quote it. If I try to quote it, I'd probably mess it up.
Okay.
Now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Wait a minute. That might be it.
That's it. Yeah.
It is. You remember that? And so I still say that, and then say the Lord's Prayer afterwards, or whatever I'm going to pray for.
Well, speaking of that sort of thing in high school, and I guess in elementary too, did the day start a certain way? Like, did they do the Pledge of Allegiance and
Yeah.
a prayer and
Definitely.
all of that before?
Said prayer. Even in high school, we did that. We had Pledge Allegiance and a prayer before.
Okay. And you graduated in 58 from high
Mhm.
school? Integration was occurring around in there?
Well, yeah, because some of the kids that went to West Town and Sandtown went to Central High School. So it had split up, yeah. Now, we didn't have any whites to come to Douglas, but
Right,
they
while you
took,
were there.
yeah.
Okay. And when you graduated, you went on to Langston?
Yeah.
Planning to be?
I was going to go in business. I really wanted to, because I liked art. I really wanted to go to work and go to Hallmark cards. And my dad told me, he said, "You're black and you're not going to ever get a job in art." And I said, well, okay. So I started out in business, and then I just didn't like it. I thought I didn't. And I changed and changed over to art. So I got in art, and I stayed in art 2 years until I left in 1960. And then as I was leaving, Jackie Jordan was my instructor at Langston in art. And he got a letter from Hallmark Cards asking for students. up in Kansas.
Ah.
And I thought, oh, see, I could have done that.
You could.
Yeah, but I went on and I was already engaged and I just went on and got married. And then I went to business school here. And then when I got at the bank, they gave me, I had to take, I didn't have to, but I chose to take classes, corresponding classes from LaSalle University in Chicago through the bank. And so I took about 7 or 8 classes in that, including accounting. So I just got in accounting. I got in business rather and stayed in business.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point did you move out of the neighborhood, or have you? Out of Edwards Addition.
Oh, I didn't go back after after I got married. I didn't. My parents are still there.
Okay.
They're still there. And I bought a home in Garden Oak Addition, which is east of that.
Okay.
Was my first home. And
Is
then
it still standing?
Yeah.
That house?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sold it, and the lady's still there, the man is dead. But I I live on Cherry and 5900 block right behind the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And I moved there in 1967. So I've
Been there a long time then.
Yeah, my son was 3 years old when I moved there. And he'll be 60 next month, the baby.
Okay. So what was the address of your home?
2514 Northeast 12th.
Okay. So you got that memorized.
Oh, yeah. I still owned it until a few years ago. And my sister, when my mother died, we already had a will in it. The house was going to us. And he lived in it. We rent her baby son, the house, probably about 9 years. And then when I decided, well, I need to sell this because this is costing me when something go wrong or need to be replaced. And so she said, well, sell it to him. And he bought it, so he's living in it.
Okay. Good. Had indoor plumbing, I'm assuming, at that time too.
Oh, yeah.
With the 2 bedrooms, living room,
Mhm.
kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay.
Now, all of the houses had indoor plumbing at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know about before, but they added on too. They added on a den in the back and a bathroom.
Okay.
And after we left,
Does it have a front porch?
it has a front porch, and it's got rails, iron rails around the front of the porch because everything was built up high.
Do you have memories of time spent on that porch
Oh yeah, playing jacks.
playing jacks?
Playing jacks on it because it was concrete porch.
Okay.
And I get out there in the evenings and play jacks and sit on the porch. And I've got a lot of memories about that porch and everything. Yeah.
Would the neighborhood at that time have like block parties or neighborhood parties or anything like that?
No,
And how about today?
I don't think so. The houses in that addition are mostly boarded up. And I think on that street, there's probably maybe 6 houses got families in it. Across the street from the house is a family. Catacornered is a father. It's a family. The lady that lived there, her son lives there now. And I don't know who lives in the other houses up. I don't think any of them were original people like we were, like my parents.
Or would you go down into town very often?
We had streetcars, and we went to town, but we had to, I know we'll forget this, we didn't have, in the neighborhood, we didn't have buses or streetcars, nothing. If you didn't drive, you just had to walk. And we would walk to, this was at the time when my daddy was in service. Because he had a car, but my mother didn't drive then. We walked from 12th Street, where we lived, up to which is Martin Luther King now, but it was Easton, 8th and Easton, and caught the streetcar. Then we would go to town. If we went anywhere else, we had to. My mother worked, did day work for houses. She'd have to get a transfer, and then go to wherever she worked. Because they just didn't go right to where you work. You'd get a transfer to go. That was before they even had buses. And in between time, before they got coming 1 in 45. I remember being on the streetcar, and I think it was 45, and they announced on the streetcar that the war was over with. And I remember as a kid, because my sister was in school, but I could see my mother was crying, and she was telling me what happened, what they were saying. And that's the first thing I said is, Daddy can come home now, And she said, yeah, Daddy can come home. And so he came on, because I remember when he was in service, we'd go down to the Rock Island train station downtown. I guess it's still there. But Rosetta probably remember that. And when he was coming in town, we'd go down there to pick him up. And we were little kids and everything. And he was in the Navy. He had on his white outfit, uniform. And we was glad to see him and everything. And I'd write him letters all the time. Couldn't write, but I'd write him and he said, I got your letter, Nita. He called me Nita. And my mother let us put on lipstick for that occasion to kiss the letter when we got ready to mail it.
Oh.
We put our little lips on the bottom of the letter. And I always insisted on him to tell me what I said. I wanted to be sure he read it, but I wanted him to tell me what I said. And you should have heard him trying to make up stuff, because it was just scribbling. I couldn't write, I couldn't even print at that time. But I remember all of that, yeah.
Cool, that's neat.
So
while he was gone, do you remember rationing and all of that was going on?
Like I said, we had garden.
Oh.
Now, only thing I can remember us going on 10th and it would have been Martin Luther King. It would have been Grand Boulevard, but it was across 10th Street. And it's not anything there now. Well, it was a barbecue place. Used to be a barbecue place, but it's not even open. But before then, it was a house that we go to. We had to go there to get milk. And we had to take our own jars, our big jars, little jars or whatever, to get milk. That was the only thing that I remember that we had to go and get, because we didn't get commodities or anything like that. Yeah. And like I said, we had a garden where it had everything in it, so we didn't have to go to the store. And we had chickens, and we had turkeys.
And it was considered inside the city limits.
Yeah.
And you could have critters.
Yeah. Then we could. My mother didn't like dogs or nothing, but we had that. Because I remember my mother wringing the chickens' necks and trying to have me to wring the chickens' necks, and I was so skinny and little that I didn't have the strength. I tried to do it and let him go, and he just hop on off,
There's a trick to it, I understand.
Yeah.
So
she did that. Uh-huh.
And gathered eggs and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So your mother canned?
No.
No?
She didn't can.
Well, how did she keep the vegetables through the winter? Or did she?
I don't know, because she didn't can.
Well, but they didn't have freezers then either.
Mm-hmm. We didn't have freezers either. We didn't have refrigerators either. We had something looked like refrigerators, but we had the iceman to bring ice and put it in there. Put it in the top of this wooden box-like deal. And so we had iceman to come. We finally got Metal Gold milk people to deliver the milk, so we could have milk and didn't have to go and buy it like that. I don't know, for some reason my stomach acted up or something. Anyway, I had to live off of goat milk. And it was a man came in the neighborhood on a bicycle with a box like on the front of his bicycle. You've seen that. And I guess he had it lined because he sold goat milk. And so we got goat milk. I didn't have enough bacteria, I think they said, or something. I grew up on that.
So,
Mhm.
I wonder where he came from. If there's
I
goats in the
don't know.
goats in the
I don't know. I
neighborhood
guess
somewhere.
they might have checked him out. I'm sure, knowing my daddy. But anyway, that's what we had.
Well, was he black or white? The goat man.
White man. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I thought you meant my daddy.
Well, how are Christmases and like July 4th, that sort of thing in the neighborhood or your family?
Oh, everybody celebrated both of them. I remember Christmas was a big thing, and we didn't have decoration in the yard, but we did have wreaths up and different things, and it was a big thing for the kids and all. We made not wagons, but we found wood and had flatbed, and we put skates. I don't know if you remember that skates that had the little steel deals. We put them on the bottom to make us a wagon, and we go up. It was a big hill on 16th. It was a big hill that came straight down on the side of I-35. It's always been there, and it leveled off when you got to 11th Street. So, I mean it. And we go up there and fly down, and then some kids learn to skate. I never did learn to skate. I rode a bicycle. My sister skated. And so, we would just do stuff like that, play ball, baseball and stuff.
Okay.
There was 4th of July. My dad had built him a big pit out in the backyard, barbecue pit. And so we had always had hot dogs and stuff like that on the grill. And it's still there in the yard.
So in the wintertime, that same hill used for sledding or?
No,
No.
I didn't hear of anybody sledding.
Did you have big snows back then though?
I don't remember that.
Big snows?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I don't think we did. Because we were talking about that. I don't remember. No, nothing like even my kids' age. It wasn't even that like they had then.
Well, where would you go to the theater?
Okay, we had 3 theaters on the east side. One on 2nd Street, that was the first one, that was Aldridge. One on 4th Street, which was Jewel Theater, named after a classmate of mine. Her father owned it, Joel Fisher. He was Joe Fisher. And one on Bath, and that was called the East Side Theater. So we had 3 theaters to go to.
Are any of them still standing?
The one on 4th Street, they are getting ready to, I know the guy that bought it. I think they're getting ready to rejuvenate it or something. I think it might be historical. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The one on anything in Deep Deuce is gone. So that's where that first one was. Everything's torn down there, so it's not there. And they got houses, apartments and stuff down there now. The one on Bath, I haven't been over there, so I know it's no theater, but I don't know what's in that building, if it still stands. I don't know.
Well, the grocery store you mentioned, is it still there?
Oh no, all of that has been gone. The churches took all of that and expanded that whole block.
Did urban renewal impact the neighborhood?
Not much.
More I-35 than anything?
Yeah, but the rest of it didn't touch. I was, when you said that, I thought about something. I forgot now. I forgot what you were saying, and I thought about that.
Well, the grocery store, is it just the one in the neighborhood? Just one grocery store?
Yeah, and for a long time. Then there was one it wasn't in Nevis Edition. It was in one in Garden Oak on Bryant, which was close, and one on 16th and Crescent Hill on the corner of 16th that you could go to, but not one in Nevis Edition.
So there's Fairgrounds, Garden Oak, Garden
Days. Garden Days is
Days.
further east of Garden Oak.
Okay.
Edwards,
Carbondale.
and above that is Crescent Hill.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you all were allowed to go to all of those different ones, or your parents wanted you to stay closer to home?
I didn't know. Well, I started babysitting when I was 12, so I could go to Garden Oak 'cause that's where they lived. I had lady had 6 kids, and I went and stayed with them till she got off of work every day. I guess I was 12, probably in 6th grade, and so I could go there.
Okay.
And I had an aunt that lived over there, but I didn't ever go and visit her. They kind of watched, where we went. I didn't know anybody in Crescent Hill and Carbondale. Yeah, I'd go over there because that's where my classmates were,
And you
I
got in trouble.
slip walk. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to be that day. I wasn't supposed to be over there, but yeah.
So most of the children from those neighborhoods would go to the same school?
Yeah.
So
It was.
there wasn't any rivalry between
Not
the
then. No.
at that point.
There wasn't any rivalry between the black neighborhoods. Now Spencer, which is further out east, Dungy kids didn't get along. The boys didn't get along with our boys
Oh.
because of the girls. But this I'm taking I knew. Mhm.
Okay. So graduation from high school, was it in the auditorium at the school or on the football field?
Mine
or where?
was in the school.
In the school.
It was before they started going to different churches in different places. They had them in the schools.
And could you have gone somewhere besides Langston, or was Langston the only choice?
I probably could have. My thoughts when I finished school, I went to work for Street's department store. 2 days after I graduated from high school, and worked there. I saved my money. I was going to service, and my dad said no. And back in '58, you just didn't do it. And my mother had a brother that was a year older than me. He came through. He'd been in service. He was getting out, and he came here to live. And my dad had him to talk to me, and he said, "No, Nita, you don't want to do that." And he talked me out of it. So I saved all my money, and I called a girl because that was I was a drill team leader in high school, and she was my drill team leader. And I called her and I said, "I heard you're going to Langston." I said, "Do you have a roommate?" And she said, "No," because I said, "Well, I might as well go to school." And so I said, "Do you mind if I be your roommate?" She said, "Oh, I'd love that." So we did that.
Did you have to work while you were there?
Yes, I did. I had my money. I paid my tuition and all. And back then, if you worked, it took care of your board and food. And so, I worked in the library the first year, and didn't like that. The lady was mean as far as I was concerned. And then my algebra instructor, when I was going to my freshman year, when I went to him, then he asked me, did I want to go to work for him? And I said, "Yeah, what do you do?" He said, "I read meters for Betville. All of the meters take care of all their billing on electricity and different stuff." He said, "I do that. Plus, you would grade my algebra papers and my geometry papers." I said, "Okay." I had both. Anyway, and so I said, "Yeah, I like that." So I did that until I left school.
Well, that came in handy in the banking for the banking job, didn't it?
Yeah. And but anyway, I did that until I left, and that paid my room and board.
Okay.
And then my job at Streets, I could do that when I come home for the summer. The manager liked me, and I did that. And then I went when I come home for Christmas holidays or any holidays, she let me work. So I even worked there. That's where I met my husband. And then I worked there even after I was married a year. And she said, well, I think I better help somebody else then. So, you know, and that's when I went and got on at the bank.
So your husband was from
Here.
Edwards Addition or a different part?
No, but his he first time I saw him, he was 3 years older. His uncle lived in Edwards Addition, which was the Edwards also. He was the Edwards, and he was staying with him, and I think he actually liked my sister, and but that was years when I was in junior high, I think, and but I didn't see him anymore because he'd gone to service, and come back. I think he did 4 years in service and came back, and was working the streets. And this is where I met him, the streets.
Shift gears a little bit. Was there a mailman? Was it a walk-in route for your mailman or just a mailbox?
A mailbox.
On the mailbox. Okay.
Out on the street, and the guy drove around.
Okay. And how would you get your news? Learn about current events.
They threw the paper. They had someone to throw the paper.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And television?
At first we didn't have one. And then I don't remember what year we got a television, because the people next door, when they first came out, I considered them as the one I said I used to go out of town with. She was a beautician and he worked at the packing house, but I considered them as being kind of more wealthier, Yes. And so they got the first television, and they had the one kid, and everybody would go to their house to sit down and look at television. Other than that, we sit around the radio listening to the radio. Yeah. But so I don't remember what year we got a television. I guess it was before I finished high school. We got one.
Favorite ones to listen to or watch shows? Did you have a favorite, or your dad have a favorite?
My dad was a football and baseball person.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what was on back then.
Thinking for baseball would have been.
I mean, that I looked at.
Oh yeah.
That I looked at.
Yeah. I don't know back then. Probably country western, probably.
It was a lot of cowboy.
Yeah.
And at the movies, it was nothing but cowboy movies.
Yeah.
But my sister liked that, and we would go and we'd take our lunch when we went to the movies, because we had to walk to the movies, and we would take our lunch, bologna sandwich or something, and chips and stuff. So we wouldn't have any place. We didn't have the money to buy nothing. So we did that so we could have lunch. And she would want to stay all day looking at the same movie, hop along Cassidy and all that stuff, And I was there just running around talking to everybody. But, that's how we worked out. My daddy, we didn't get allowance. They couldn't afford to pay us allowance. So, which we didn't do anything around the house very much. My mother said she could do it faster. And better. And so she didn't. We both married, didn't know how to cook, But anyway, he would give us our lunch money the first of the week, and said, do what you're gonna do with it. And so if there was a game we wanted to go, football or basketball, we would take that and then take our lunch, because we lived too far to go and try to come right back. In grade school, that was good because we lived 2 blocks from the school, and so we would go home anyway for lunch, and my mother would be there and she'd fix us something to eat. But we didn't ever eat in the cafeteria as kids at school. But in high school, yeah, we did. But we would take our money and go what we want to do, and just take our lunch. And I guess that's what helped me to start managing stuff,
Yeah.
Because I still stay, it's nobody but me, but I make a budget every month. And I check it, as I pay stuff.
Did you teach your children to do that?
I didn't pay any attention to it at first. I know Oh, after I was grown and everything, and my son was a teenager, um, I broke my little finger and I couldn't use my hand. And I was a manager at the branch out on 122nd, um, and I couldn't drive either because I had this big old cast on me. And so I told him he had to write my checks out and do that, and he did. And so I can see now that a lot of that, and I can hear him. Um, he has 3 retirements coming. He listened to me. So,
You learned to budget too, then.
yeah.
As you have gotten older in this neighborhood that you talk about, have you shared stories about it so that your kids, your children and grandchildren know the significance of it?
I don't. I think I've told my son some things. He's not.
Not interested.
No, he didn't even want the pictures and things that I have. You know, he's not into pictures and stuff. Now my grandson, he'll come out. My grandson's 26, and he just bought him a new house. Not a new house. He just bought his first home, first of last month. So he's really proud of that. But he has come over and asked me about the family. I had a daughter. I had 2 daughters that died. One at birth and one senior in high school. And he wants to know about her, the one that died in high school, because he said his daddy don't talk about it. That's why he never talked to me about it. But anyway, so he's asked about the family and things going on. You know, he wants to know. And so I tell him about it.
So besides roller skating and bicycling and going down the hill, were there other things that you would do with your friends? Space or ball, you said too. So.
Yeah, but just sit around and talk, ride stick horses, and that was a big thing.
Stick horses.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was a broom, we rode it.
Okay. And then streetcars, I haven't talked with anyone that talked about streetcars, so that had to be an experience too. Do you remember much more about it, like how much you'd have to pay to ride it, or?
It was very little, but I don't remember how much it was.
Did they make you sit in a certain spot?
Yeah, we sit in the back.
Even on the streetcars
yeah,
too?
Yeah. And
I
on the buses.
That, I didn't
on the buses especially too.
At that time.
When we got the bus. We had, you ever heard of jitneys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was a car that picked you up at the bus stop and you pay them to take you where you want to go. That was in between the buses and the streetcars.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the streetcars, and then when they took them off, they started sending jitneys out, and they would pick you up on the bus stop, and then you would pay them, and they would take you downtown to wherever you wanted to go. Mm-hmm.
Or were there?
On the streetcars, we had tokens.
Okay.
Now, I don't remember how we got them, but we had tokens that we paid.
Were there certain places downtown you couldn't go?
Not that I know. You couldn't, well, we couldn't eat at the at the drugstores and stuff. We couldn't eat down there, but you could go in the stores.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the sit-in that they talk about,
yeah,
that was in the 60s, I guess, wasn't it? 50s, 60s.
58 or 60, between 58 and 64, because I was in college when that started, and I didn't get to participate because I was out at Langston. After that, in 64, I was working at the bank, and my mother was working at Johnny Brown's, and we couldn't eat, and that's when we couldn't eat at Johnny Brown's at their restaurant, their cafeteria, and I remember all of that. I didn't go and eat anyway. I always took my food and ate. Even at the bank, I took my food and heated it in the lunchroom, ate hot meals and stuff. but they had that.
Do you have any names that come to mind about like leaders in the community or in the city that were helping you out on this side of town? I know about Hannah Atkins, but that might have been a little bit later too. Oh, well.
I know her. I did never come in contact with her.
The tea sipping lady. She liked to be referred to as the tea sipping lady.
I knew her, and her husband was a doctor.
Yes.
He had a lot to do with it was hospital. I think he's one of the first doctors that was there.
Okay.
At the hospital.
I think his name was Charles.
Charles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to think when you said that. Well, Claire Lupa.
Okay.
I did never come in I came in contact with her one time when she was getting people to work at Safeway as cashiers. And my husband and I went to apply, had a ticket test. That didn't go well. So I didn't get involved anymore with that. But she was the only one. Christine Woods, and I don't remember what she was, but she helped the young women, and they had professional women's organizations. And so we would go out of town and represent Oklahoma City and stuff like that. I remember her being active with the women, with the young girls.
Okay.
Trying to think who else would have done something. Can't think right now.
Politicians, yeah. Help or hurt, both.
I don't know if we even if anybody was in as politicians. I think, like I said, Bicenio, that I just heard that he died, before I got here. I think he was the first black representative we had, period. And then E. Melvin Porter was a senator, but I was grown and, at that time. We were kids the same age.
And I think Porter was the seat that Vicki Miles LaGrange
took.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That vaguely remember that part.
Yeah.
Well, did you have a favorite spot in the neighborhood? Like your happy place?
I know one thing I was going to say. We had a place called the Teenage Club. It was behind me. Were you here then or you gone? You probably gone.
It was called what?
Teenage Club.
Where was it?
It was addition right, my house sat right behind it. It's where Tabitha Church is. It was in the strip mall. But all the kids, all the teenagers would get there on the weekend. And it was open Friday and Saturday, and I don't think on Sundays. But we'd all meet there and dance. I used to love to dance. So that's where you'd see me on weekends. Right there.
Well, see, we were over in West Town, way away from you all.
Yeah. Okay. And
were there places in the neighborhood to eat, like to go out and eat, actually go out and eat?
nope.
Not even ice cream shop or anything like that?
We had to go the closest to us after the ice cream parlor. It was one in the strip that my girlfriend's parents owned, the Kings. They had ice cream. But to get a hamburger or Dairy Queen or something like that, you had to go up on 23rd and Martin Luther King to get that. There was another place over on 16th and Lottie, and I can't think of the name of it. It was an ice cream place. You couldn't get a hamburger, but you could get ice cream. Mm-hmm. Oh, Blanche's Drive-In, yeah. It was on 6th and 7th Street, 6th Street. It was owned by Blanche and a black lady and her brothers. I was trying to think of their last names. Heights. You remember them, don't you? The Heights brothers. Yeah. I can't think of his first name. But anyway, they had a drive-in that you could go in and sit down and eat, but all the kids would just drive in and get drinks and laugh and play and dance, in the parking lot and all of that.
Good
So that
times.
was after the games. They went there. Our Jean had a hot hamburger place across the street from the school where it is now. She had hamburgers and stuff.
Okay. Good times.
Yeah.
Some good memories. Yeah.
Good times.
How about Easter?
Well, Easter, we got our clothes. Everybody looked at getting their little clothes.
Your mother made.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we would go down on 4th Street where a Jewel Theater was, and there was my husband's father had a hamburger place next to the theater. But we would go and park and just watch, because people would walk up and down the streets, with the clothes on and everything. And we would just go down there and park just to see the people walking up and down the street. For Easter, that's what we did.
Hats and gloves.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we wore gloves, and some had hats and some didn't, but everybody wore gloves then.
Well, when you first started at the bank, was there a dress code that you had to?
Not really. Further, they got uniforms before. Now, when I made teller, there was a lot of controversy about me wearing red polish and red lipstick. And they said women of the street did that. And I had a hard time telling them that black people wore red lipstick and red fingernail polish. That's all we had. We always wore it. But one lady tried to get me off the teller line because she said it just didn't look good, me wearing that. So.
Or were you allowed to wear pants?
No. After a while we could. We couldn't wear pants even when in high school. And I think I was at Langston when we first could wear pants. Mm-hmm. Later on at OOHRP could, because when I had uniforms, they got us uniforms. And 3 sets were pants. And they had different tops you could change, different skirts to go with it. You could wear pants then. Then it changed, you would wear what you wanted because people didn't like the uniforms, including me. I didn't like looking like everybody.
Well, did you have to give up your red nail polish?
No.
You just
I still have it on today.
I'm not doing
I
it.
put on pink this time. No, I don't wear red as much. I wear blue, different colors.
You stood your ground on that case.
Yeah.
And you retired in 2003.
3.
So before COVID.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
Oh yeah, long before COVID. I've been retired now 21 years.
Well, how has the neighborhood changed then since you were, I don't know, when you moved out in the 20s? What's going on in today, do you know?
When I moved from which house?
Well, the
As a kid,
Edwards edition. Either one.
Oh, well, I haven't lived in Edwards edition in years.
Have you driven through it? Like,
Not really. I don't even go down to my nephew's house. I see him at my sister's house, but I don't ever go down there. I know last time I was through there, everything was boarded up almost. So
and the
they
Edwards,
can't tear it down because it's historical. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
and the community park is still is alive and well.
Yeah, it is because the Edwardses had their reunion last year, and they had the picnic there. Mm-hmm. And my church uses the picnic place too.
Can you see the Capitol building from anywhere in that edition? With the dome or without the dome? Because I know the dome hasn't always been on there.
I don't think so. I've never even tried to look from there.
Just when you can see it coming down Lincoln, that's why I was asking.
Oh, No, Edwards Edition would be out.
Oh, the other.
Further out. My 10th down. So I don't know. I've never tried to look over there. I don't never looked from where I live, and I don't think I.
Well, you might not
See
be
it.
able to see the Capitol, but you see that, what, the Devon
Tower.
Devon Tower
I
now.
don't. I've never looked that way. I so much trees around my house.
Oh.
I couldn't see.
And you had fruit trees growing up, or your dad had fruit
Oh yeah.
fruit trees.
I had them at my house. I only have one left now, but
Yeah.
I had to take them down. The roots were getting too long and big.
Where are they buried? Your parents?
Trice Hill Cemetery up on 50th and Coltrane.
Okay. Not connected to a church then.
I'm not that old. I don't know any of them around here that is besides Pilgrim Rest.
Where I'm from, that they almost always connected to a church. So that's I always
Yeah.
wondered. Yeah. Okay. Have you got your list? Have we covered everything on your list?
Oh, I forgot about the list. I think so, because I was talking mainly about I was trying to come up from school.
Yeah, landmarks in the neighborhood. Then and now, I guess.
No, not that I could noticed.
And any neighbors that went off and became famous or anything like that? Not that that's that important, but
Not that I can. Probably Vicky would be the only one that I can think of. Her parents lived in the neighborhood I lived in, and before then, when she was a kid, I think she lived in Edwards Edition. I know her mother taught at Garden Oak School, and that's where I worked, and that's where I lived. When Vicky was in the 5th grade.
and she talked about them building a house in Edwards Edition when she was younger. Yeah.
And so now her parents, and I don't think she lived there. I think she was grown when they moved over there. When I moved over there, where they were in the neighborhood.
Okay, or were there certain smells or sounds that you associate with that house and neighborhood from childhood? No. Was it close to any, I don't know, factory or
No.
anything like that?
Now I know it was a sewage down. I guess it's still there, but they've done something, you don't smell it. Between 10th and 4th Street, I think it was a sewage or something down there that used to smell. But it's that like I said, I haven't lived in that house since '58, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking more good smells, like, you know, things coming out of the kitchen smells too, you know, like people baking pies or homemade bread or whatever.
No.
And music? Was music a?
Oh yeah.
I know you danced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We danced at the parks. Actually, it was parks. They, had dancing out around the pool and stuff.
Live band or radio or what at that time?
They had, I guess, a radio or what do we call them then?
Live music.
No.
Record players?
No.
Digital
Jukebox. Those
jukebox.
What you call that? Boom boxes.
Okay, yeah.
Boom boxes. That's what they had. Now, we had stereos in my time. I still got some of my records, pretty big LPs and all. We had that, and everybody was listening to music and buying records and stuff. So.
Okay, and in high school or college, did they teach you about Black history, Black Oklahoma history, like the Tulsa Race Massacre, that type of thing?
I didn't hear about that until I was grown.
Okay.
No. We didn't have, to my knowledge, at Langston, we didn't have Black history. I think we had a little bit at Douglas, just a little bit. I didn't come in contact with it until I married my kid's father, Cartelia, and he had a minor in Black history, art and Black history. So, I read his books and things like that.
That's an interesting first name. Do you know how they came about it?
I was told, and he said no. Well, my son said no. My son looked it up. Cart didn't know. I know he was named after Cartelia Looper, which it was Mrs. Clara Looper's brother-in-law. He was an electrician. He was named after him because Cart's aunt used to go with him, and she liked the name, so she named him that. I asked his son later, I guess maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where did his father get that name from? And he said the Three Musketeers, one of them's name was Darthelia or something like that, and his mother liked it, so she named him Cartelia. And my son looked it up and he said, that's not right. It's not right, so.
I'm just curious.
But it's spelled Cartelyu. And I didn't want a junior, so I gave him a middle name as Nagel. So, and the grandson is Nagel. So they're 1 and 2. He's number 1.
I just wondered if it was a family name that came from somewhere. And your dad was from Texas. You said Texas.
My dad was from Greenville, Texas.
Texas. And your mom?
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Granby, Louisiana.
Okay.
My dad, my dad's mother was a Black Indian, and his father was Mexican. I found out my real last name is Teresas.
Okay. I just wonder how their families came to be in Oklahoma then, do you know?
Well, they didn't. My dad was the only one that came to Oklahoma, and his sister.
Okay.
They've stayed in
And
Texas.
He came when he was grown. He came to
Oh yeah, they were married, and I was born. Yeah.
Do you know why he came here though?
Because his sister was here, and I guess he just thought he could get a better job here.
Yeah. Well, do you know why she was here? I'm just trying to.
I don't know
Why Oklahoma
I don't
City?
know. I don't know why she came. I never asked anything. Why she came here.
Yeah. Why?
But she was the first one, and the older sister finally came here, and then my dad, and he was the middle child. He came here. So
And no thoughts of going to other places like to California whenever a lot of people are headed that way. No, they liked it here and stayed put.
And my mother was from Granby, Louisiana, which is outside of Shreveport. And then she left, her and her sisters and father, because the mother, they divorced. They moved to Tyler, Texas when she was 8 years old. And my dad they moved from Greenville to Wichita Falls, Texas. And then he moved to Tyler. And they met in high school.
Okay.
And then they married afterwards.
Kind of explains the path.
Mhm.
Did you see anything else on your list? You covered it, whatever you wanted.
Yeah,
And healthcare, they built the hospital eventually for
blacks.
blacks. What about just for a regular doctor if you had a broken arm or something like that growing up? Was there a doctor in the neighborhood?
Well, yeah. Dr. Finley was my first doctor.
Okay.
And G.E. Finley, I think he was probably every black person's lived over in here, doctor. And then I started going to Carl Barkley. And he lived in El Division, but he younger than Dr. Finley. And so I started going to him.
Okay.
I guess they would be our primary care doctors, but they saw to us about everything.
Okay. And
We had quite a few doctors and dentists.
the other professions like lawyers and such.
E. Melvin Porter. Let's see. I can't think of this man's name. But he handled a lot of suits let's see, at Tinker. Floyd, you know, an attorney named Floyd, last first name was Floyd. Okay.
It's okay. I mean, there were some in the neighborhood, in the community rather.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And teachers lived in the community as well.
Some.
Some.
Some lived a little bit of everywhere.
And most of the adults.
But the teachers came to your house.
Ah.
The teachers, I don't know how many teachers came to my house. I had a teacher live down the street from me, and she was in Edwards Edition, and she was my English teacher. And I hated she lived down the street because she was, but she was always Mrs. Wiley, Leila Wiley. She was always comparing me with my sister, and my sister was real smart. I was the one that had the mouth, you know. But on all of my grade cards, it, good students just talk too much. But she would come down to the house. But Miss Temple was my geometry and trigonometry teacher, and she'd come down the house, and just to check to see, you know, I guess to meet your parents and see how you doing. So
Yeah, we don't have enough of that these days.
no,
do
we don't have the teachers we had either.
That's true. A lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite memory from your days in Edwards Edition? And we'll close with that.
I know we had, back then we'd have polio shots, different shots, and they would come to our church, Tabitha Church, and that was the first church in the neighborhood, and we had nurses that belonged to our church, and some lived in the neighborhood, but they didn't go to the church. They would come and give the shots, and I remember being real young, but they, since we lived next door, and Freddie and I and everybody knew us, they let us come and help, you know. We'd run do this and run do that and get this. You know, we couldn't get no shots or anything, but that was something big to me that I could help do that.
Yeah, polio shot. No, is it polio? Well, chickenpox one was a shot and one was a sugar pill. I don't remember which was which.
I took a shot.
Okay. So you could have been a nurse if you liked doing that.
Well, my sister went to school to be a nurse, but that wasn't.
That would
I
be-
didn't know.
Hallmark would have been good to have you. I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I guess business was my calling, so
Yeah.
'cause I still keep books for people.
That was another. So in your retirement, you're staying pretty busy.
Oh yeah. I was down at the Board of Adjustments yesterday, at the courthouse. I mean, at the council place, on fighting these Airbnbs in the neighborhood. So
All right. Then, if you don't have anything else, I'll say thank you very much for spending
Okay.
the afternoon with us.
okay,
It's been great.
thank you.